What is Wahhabism?
18th century theologian Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab.
If they are really following Islam, then why are they dealing with these drugs? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clearly said that kullu muskirin haramun. Every intoxicant is haram, is forbidden, is prohibited. Instead, you will run towards the garden. You will find the tree, whatever it takes. Then you will find that box.
Afghan Taliban forces opened fire at a border crossing with Pakistan on Sunday, killing 6 civilians according to the Pakistani military.
The company of the awliya of Allah will guide you as long as you live in this world, will show you light in your grave when you die, will lead you towards paradise on the day of judgment. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. Viewers, in our last video, we spoke about being with the pious people, with the awliya of Allah, and what effect does it have in our lives. We said that when you be with the awliya of Allah, your whole character changes. You start doing good deeds. You start loving Allah. So all these things were discussed in our last video. Today let's speak about Wahhabism. What is Wahhabism? In the early 18th century, there was a person named Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab.
18th century theologian Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. He was born in 1703 in the city of Al-Uyayna to a family of clerics in a region of Arabia called Najd, about 70 kilometers northwest of Riyadh, the capital of modern-day Saudi Arabia.
He acquired some Islamic knowledge and he started misinterpreting the Quran. He started taking the verses of the Quran out of their context. And very soon he was successful in gathering a lot of followers. Then he and his followers claimed that the majority of Muslims have been committing shirk, that is polytheism, for centuries. Well, why did he claim so? Were Muslims worshipping idols those days? No. Muslims were just following Islam the right way. They used to say La ilaha illallah. They prayed 5 times a day. They fasted the month of Ramadan. They performed Hajj, that is the pilgrimage, and all. But apart from all these things, Muslims used to honor and respect the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as the awliya of Allah, the saints. Muslims had great respect towards these pious people, the awliya of Allah. They used to praise them using Islamic poetry, singing Islamic songs. They used to visit their shrines, honoring them and seeking blessings from them. So this is what Muslims were doing. And not only in the time of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, but from the very beginning, this is what Muslims have been doing. But Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and his followers considered all these things as innovations leading to polytheism.
In Abdul Wahhab's most famous book, Kitab al-Tawheed, or the Book of the Oneness of God, he emphasizes that any misplaced reverence is an assault on God's unity itself. Much of the book warns against anything that he felt could be perceived as shirk, or ascribing partners to God, including some practices that remain part of the cultural fabric of Islamic spirituality, such as intercession, devotion at graves, and drawing pictures or images.
So he and his followers said that whoever does all these things, that is, honoring the saints, visiting their shrines, seeking their blessings or calling them for help, whoever does all these things is actually a mushrik, a polytheist. If he repents, then it's okay, but if not, then he should be killed. So this was the ideology of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, the Wahhabi ideology. He has written all these things in his books. I'll show you one example from his book named Mufidul Mustafid fi Kufri Tariq al-Tawheed. He says, فَكُلُّ مَنْ غَلَا فِي نَبِيٍّ أَوْ رَجُلٍ صَالِحٍ وجعل فيه نوعا من الإلهية مثل أن يقول يا سيدي فلان انصرني أو أغثني أو ارزقني ونحو هذه الأقوال فكل هذا شرك وضلال يستتاب صاحبها فإن تابا وإلا قتلا. Which means whoever exaggerates his love and respect for a prophet or a wali, a saint, to an extent that he calls him for help, saying, Master, help me, or Master, protect me. Whoever does so is a mushrik, is a polytheist. He should be asked to repent. If he repents, then fine, but if not, then he should be killed. So this is the Wahhabi ideology. Shaykh Ibn Abidin Shami, rahmatullahi alayhi, one of the great Sufi scholars of Islam, a renowned scholar, who has great consideration under the Hanafi school of thought. He says in his book Raddul Muhtar, which is also a renowned book, he says in his book that كما وقع في زماننا في أتباع ابن عبد الوهاب الذين خرجوا من نجد وتغلبوا على الحرمين وكانوا ينتحلون مذهب الحنابلة لكنهم اعتقدوا أنهم هم المسلمون وأن من خالف اعتقادهم مشركون واستباحوا بذلك قتل أهل السنة وقتل علمائهم. Which means Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and his followers came from Najd and conquered Mecca and Medina by force. They came with their wrong ideologies, claiming that they alone were Muslims. And whoever opposed their ideology was a polytheist. Claiming this, they consider that the killing of such Muslims and such scholars is permissible. So this is the Wahhabi ideology. And do not think that Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab just had such ideologies and beliefs, but he never implemented them. Don't think that. Because history says that Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and his followers killed many Muslims, including Islamic scholars. That's what history says. And history also says that Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab and his followers demolished all the shrines of Sahabas, the companions of the Prophet, which were there in Medina. They destroyed them completely. Let's listen to the same from a Wahhabi scholar.
Allah रहमत करे मोहम्मद बिन अब्दुल वहाब नजदी रहमतुल्लाह अलैह पर, जिन्होंने ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह की आवाज़ को इस पाक सरजमीन सऊदी अरब से बुलंद किया। मोहम्मद बिन सऊद से अल्लाह राजी हो राहिमहुल्लाह, उन्होंने इमाम मोहम्मद का साथ दिया। और ये धरती जहां पर दरबार लसूड़ी शाह, फसूड़ी शाह, एट शाह, कामा वाली सरकार के नहीं थे, जहां जैद बिन खत्ताब का कुब्बा था, जहां खुदीजा के दरबार थे, जहां सहाबा की कब्रें थी, इन सारे दरबारों से इस धरती को पाक करके।
There's an international organization which was started by former world leaders to counter terrorism, which was named as Counter Extremism Project. They have submitted reports about these extremist organizations. If you read those reports, you will find that all these extremist organizations follow Wahhabism. They have this Wahhabi ideology or Salafi ideology. And you can find the word Sunni there, don't get confused, because Sunni in a wider aspect means these people do not belong to the Shia community. They claim that they are non-Shias. That is the meaning there. But what's written after Sunni, that you have to see. It's written that Salafi or Wahhabi. For example, if you read the report about Taliban, you can find that they have this Wahhabi or Salafi ideology. Similarly, if you see what ideology this Al-Qaeda has, you can see that they also have this so-called Wahhabi and Salafi ideology. So that is why we say that Wahhabism leads to extremism. You see all these organizations, they follow only the Wahhabi thought. They have only these Wahhabi and Salafi ideologies. So almost 99% of these extremist organizations follow this guy Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. And that is why even today we see this ISIS doing the same thing of demolishing Sufi shrines. What was exactly done by their leader, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, previously.
Well, elsewhere, the media wing of Islamic State in Iraq have released footage in a video called Demolishing Idols. In this clip, militants can be seen planting a bomb at the 11th century Imam Dur shrine. Then they blow it up. At one point in the film, a voice can be heard saying, "What you're seeing here is something God ordered us to do. These idols you're seeing, we've begun to remove from the face of the earth."
So they consider these shrines as idols and they're demolishing them. So what do they follow? Do they follow Islam? No, they don't. They follow only their own instincts. What they regard as right, they do it. If they are really following Islam, then why are they dealing with these drugs, which are completely prohibited in Islam? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has clearly said that kullu muskirin haramun. Every intoxicant is haram, is forbidden, is prohibited. So this is what Islam says. And look at what these people are doing. What is being reported about them. So that is why we say that nothing is Islamic in them. They say they are fighting for Islam and they are killing their own Muslim brothers in Pakistan. Just have a look at what is being reported about them.
Afghan Taliban forces opened fire at a border crossing with Pakistan on Sunday, killing 6 civilians according to the Pakistani military. More than a dozen people were wounded by what Pak military calls unprovoked and indiscriminate fire by Afghan Taliban near the town of Chaman in Balochistan province of Pakistan.
So that is why we say that nothing is Islamic in them. No religious cause is motivating them. All that is motivating them is their political cause. With this, I believe that you would have understood that Wahhabism and its founder Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab are the roots of extremism. So whoever follows Wahhabism or admires this guy Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, thinks that this guy, Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, is a great scholar, admires his teachings, may go extreme any time. Because this person who is admiring Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab today may be inspired by all his teachings tomorrow and start seeing other Muslims who oppose the ideologies of Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab as politicians. And think that killing such politicians is permissible. So think about this, brothers. If you are seeing your fellow Muslims as politicians and think that killing such politicians is permissible, then how would you see towards the non-Muslims? How harshly would you deal with them? So that is why we say that Wahhabism leads to extremism. So youngsters in Islam, that is our message today. Wahhabism leads to extremism. I believe that you would have understood what Wahhabism is. So beware of Wahhabism. That is our message for today. Before I could conclude, I would like to remind you once again about pious company, about being with the awliya of Allah, being with someone who is connected to Allah. This is something you should experience in your life. This is something you should feel in your life. Once the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was asked by his companions that, Ya Rasulullah, man awliyaullah? O the Messenger of Allah, Ya Rasulullah, who are the awliya of Allah? The companions asked. So the Prophet replied, إِذَا رُؤُوا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. When you see them, you will remember Allah. Their very sight will remind you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is something you should experience in your life. That is why we say you should find the awliya of Allah. Search for them. Find them and try to be in their company. You will succeed in dunya and akhirah. And do not be lazy in finding them. I have heard many people saying that, yes, the awliya of Allah, the saints exist, but there are a number of fake saints out there. So finding a true saint, a true wali among all these fake ones is a bit difficult. So let's not waste our time. Let's not waste our time. What are you saying? I'd like to ask such people that if someone whom you trust tells you that back in your garden there is a tree under which I have hidden a box, and in that box there are 10 diamonds, but out of those 10 diamonds, 9 are fake. Only 1 diamond is a real one. But that real diamond is worth millions of dollars. What would you say to him? Would you say that, oh, 9 are fake, then let them be. How can I find 1 real diamond among those fake ones? Would you say that? No. Instead, you will run towards the garden. You will find the tree, whatever it takes. Then you will find that box. Then you will take all the 10 diamonds. You will start searching them. You will start testing one after the another. Whatever it takes, you will find the real diamond for sure. Because this is something about money. This is something which has value in your heart. But when it comes to the awliya of Allah, when it comes to finding the loved ones of Allah, finding those who are connected to Allah, who are close to Allah, who are loved by Allah, you find excuses. You say that it's difficult to find in this era. Those people existed in the past. Today there are only fake ones. All these sort of excuses. So this attitude should change. The value of all these worldly things, this money, ornaments and all, the value of all these things in our heart should not be greater than the value of the awliya of Allah, than the value of someone who is connected to Allah, someone who is loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, someone who is close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because all these worldly things are going to benefit you only in this life, in dunya. But the company of the awliya of Allah, the company of these pious people will benefit you in dunya and akhirah. The company of the awliya of Allah will guide you as long as you live in this world, will show you light in your grave when you die, will lead you towards paradise on the day of judgment. So that has real value. That is precious. That is priceless. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand this. Ameen. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.